There has been a lot of discussion about the fact that a refugee centre is going to be opened in Knock, very near the Knock Shrine here in Mayo. And I think two properties have been earmarked for this. Since the invasion in Ukraine, with the influx of Ukrainians and then with the influx of Middle Eastern and Africans into Ireland, there is a refugee industry now. So there are lots of hedge funds, lots of property owners making billions, and I mean billions, from this industry. I mean, Ukrainian refugees had some of the best benefits in Europe, which is why you had more of them coming here than to some other countries in Europe. Now, I'm a Catholic channel. I'm a Catholic, and somebody that comes to our country, a refugee, no matter what their religion, they are created in the image and likeness of God, and they have the same dignity as the rest of us. So I'm not going to be some type of person that's here to create division and, create a them and us barrier between them. But on the practical level, there's practicalities here involved. We are a country of 5 million people in a world with 7 billion people, and we cannot, as a country of 5 million people, resolve the world's problems. That's the simple reality of it. There are, our love, we should love without limits, but our love has we can't apply it without limits. We cannot, as a country, resolve the world's problems, economic problems. We can't. You can't. And when you flood a town with 500 to 600 people, which is what is going to happen in Knock, you create a lot of other problems, knock-on problems. You don't have schools, you don't have doctors, you don't have facilities, etc., etc. I mean, where I live, my house, there's 2 refugee centres beside my house. One in front, which is 5 minutes in front of my house, and one literally 150 metres behind my house. The new one that they're trying to open here. Because it's big business. It's big business. Hotel owners have never had it so good in Ireland. I mean, it's big business. It's a $2.5 billion euro industry in Ireland. And the Irish public, for the most part, voted for this. I mean, we recently had local elections, and if you look at the vote across Ireland, the majority of people have voted for Green, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, that have passed the European legislation in the Dáil. I'm just reflecting on what has gone on in Ireland, and I'm not here to in any shape or form try and create division, but the realities are what they are. This is the reality that we live in. So as regards Knock, the fact that the government is now paying for a closed down hotel that has been closed for, I think, 20 years, that some businessman has tapped into this and is trying to make money from it. I mean, the reality is Knock has been dying for years. Knock has been dying for years. You have very little accommodation in Knock because people don't use it. People don't use Knock. You have a hotel, a new hotel, Knock House Hotel. You have St. Mary's Accommodation Centre. You have some B&Bs around it. But there's lots of closed up properties, empty properties. I think Patrick McChrystal is the only one making an effort to buy something to do stuff in Knock with HLI. But the sad reality is there isn't a pilgrimage industry to Knock. People don't go to Knock to spend a few days. And it's not like Lourdes or Medjugorje or Fatima or some other Marian shrines. You dip in and dip out. You go, at 12, go to the Mass, and you leave at 4 or 5, and that's it. There are practically no bishops around the world that would bring a group of pilgrims to Knock. It simply doesn't happen because Knock is underdeveloped. And it is an incredible Marian shrine, Eucharistic and Marian shrine, in the sense that, while there's a lot of discussion on Medjugorje and on the seers and on the messages, there's no discussion on the validity of Knock. It is one of the most powerful shrines in the world, in the sense that Our Lady, our Lord, St. John, St. Joseph appeared to so many people at the same time for so long, even and they held the all these seers died affirming what they saw, and it is a church approved shrine. And yet the reality is it has been dying for the last number of years. I remember Knock in the 80s, and when I go back there now, I mean, pubs closed, restaurants closed. You cannot bring, for example, 300 people on a pilgrimage to Knock. There isn't the facilities in Knock for 300 people. There isn't. Now, and a lot of people reach out to me to promote stuff. Lots of people around Ireland. Will you give this plug? Will you give that a plug? Will you support this? Will you support that? Lots of people phone me up to support stuff. And I love the faith, and I'm willing to support anything that renews the faith. But, and as people know, I try not to divide the church. If it's traditional at Mass, I'll promote it. If it's Medjugorje, I'll promote it. I am trying to, renew the faith, support the faith. But there's a lot of, when you put something on a Knock, which I have done, book book the hotel or book an accommodation centre. Say you want to do a retreat for 50 people or for 100 people, say a 2-day retreat in Knock, and you book it. You say, look, I'm going to book it for 100 people, 2-day retreat, get speakers in, organise the accommodation, organise the food, blah, 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 blah. People don't come. You'd be struggling. You put it out there, you advertise it out, it goes out on WhatsApp, it goes out on my channel, it goes out, and you could put it into the Irish Catholic, advertise it out there, it gets around, and some of the stuff that I do on the channel, it gets 6, 7, 8 views, and lots of people see it, but there isn't the will to actually say, I'm going to commit to that. And the reality is, it can be expensive for some people. If you're doing a 2-day retreat in Knock, you're looking at, say, 120, 150 per day. Accommodation, food, maybe people have to travel there. And that, 300 euros, and maybe you need more money to cover the expenses of speakers to come in. It's expensive. Even me, that, I have a relatively well-paid job, 300 euros, 400 euros, 300 euros can be expensive. The reason why I do the holiday in Spain every year is because it's cheap. I'm just being honest here. Myself and my son, we can do accommodation and food for 1 day in Spain for 60 euros. Yeah. I can, I'll pay a hostel, say it'll be 30 euros for the two of us, or 40 euros for the two of us. I go to a supermarket, I buy food, which is 20 euros. I can live on the Camino for 60 euros a day if I budget it well. I couldn't do that in Ireland. You couldn't do that in Ireland. So it can be expensive. But that's the simple reality with Knock. So now that the government wants to push 500 to 600 Middle Eastern and African refugees into Knock, which most of them, as far as I'm aware, will be Muslim. I mean, us Catholics, we have let Knock die for years. We have let Knock die for years. Travel around Knock, you see a lot of empty properties, a lot of aging properties, nobody living in them, in hardly any accommodation, pubs closed. There was a school of evangelization in Knock at one time, that's closed. There is nothing in Knock in the evening. Nothing. Why is there such a great appeal to Medjugorje? Why do you have thousands and thousands of Irish people going to Medjugorje every year? Because you have facilities, you have a program, you have community. There is a spirit, there is a beautiful spirit in Medjugorje of community, of a program, of connecting people, of, talks and so on and so forth. I mean, you have perpetual adoration in Medjugorje. You don't have perpetual adoration in Knock. In Medjugorje, you have adoration besides St. James's during the day. The Oasis of Peace has adoration. You have different religious communities that are set up in Medjugorje. You have, Cross Mountain, and you have the Apparition Hill. You have a whole evening program in Medjugorje from 5 o'clock to, say, 11 o'clock, 5 to 10, 5 hours in the evening, jam-packed of activities in Medjugorje. So you have a rosary for an hour, you have Holy Mass, you could have Veneration of the Cross or Adoration some evenings, which is very beautiful. Then afterwards, you can go out and eat in different restaurants, very cost effective. €10, €15 will get you a lot in Medjugorje. So you could be doing that from 8 to 10, meeting people, having conversations, or you can branch out and have talks in different houses. When Jim Brown used to bring people there, he would use it as catechesis or faith formation. There's tons of stuff to do in Medjugorje in the evening. There is nothing to do in Knock. You arrive into Knock at 6 p.m. in the evening. There's nothing to do. There is nothing to do. That's simply it. So nobody goes there in pilgrimage for a couple of days. Any of the types of international pilgrimages that you have, people coming to Ireland, Knock is one of the stops, one of the days. They'll bring in their bus, they'll stay there for a couple of hours, and then they leave. Glendalough, and they might have a platter of places to visit, right? But Knock isn't a destination. It isn't a pilgrimage destination for international pilgrims because there's nothing there. What we've got to offer them? What do we offer them? The 3 p.m. Mass is kind of the focal point of the day. Healing services. The confessions is buried in a grave at the end of the shrine. It's really very sad. I think it's horrendous, to be honest. When you see what you have in Medjugorje, which is the confession it's the confession of the world, because they make a big effort on it. They make a big effort. They have confessionals, both sides of the church. You have dozens, if not hundreds of priests offering confession in the evening, adoration, outdoor mass, thousands of people there, facilities, hotels, everything. And yet Knock isn't developed. So, that the government now and the businesses now are offering up their properties for this new refugee industry. Well, this is what the Irish people want. This is what they want. Look at the European elections. People voted for the same old. For local elections, more or less, people the same old. This is, the people don't, I don't know. They don't mind Ireland is being, we would rather abort our kids. We have more abortions in Ireland, Irish abortions. The Irish population would rather abort their kids and replace them with foreigners. And people say that's a horrific thing for you to say, Robert. I am just relating the statistics. We would rather have 10,000 Irish abortions, and we will open the gates to be replaced by another population. That's what we want. We voted for that. We celebrate that. I don't agree with it. But then the population doesn't have the capacity to see, in 10, 20, 30, 40 years, how this will divide the island, how this will divide populations, how this is, you're replacing one culture with the other. Is this a healthy thing to do? We will have the way things are going. You look at places like Luton in England, and 30 years ago there was 2 mosques, and today there's 14. The fastest growing I'm just relating the facts, guys. Catholics have them only themselves to blame because we haven't put the infrastructure in place. We haven't put the program in place. We haven't promoted knock. People built hotels, bought properties, had pubs, had stuff around knock. Catholics didn't use them. That's simple it. It's not a destination where you go and spend 2 to 3 days in knock. It hasn't been promoted as a place where bishops will bring people on pilgrimage, stay for a couple of days and leave. It hasn't been. So that's my take on this. And I think that's a very pragmatic take. We don't want to use it. The Irish population doesn't want to. The Irish population would rather, is fine with immigration, is fine with aborting their own children. This is what we've done to Ireland. There is more immigration into Ireland than, that's life. That's what we voted for. That's what people want. Sinn Féin supports this. Fianna Fáil supports this. The Green Party supports this. Fianna Fáil supports this. These are all the major parties in Ireland, and they all support all of these policies, and people vote for them by a majority. They voted for abortion. They voted for these parties in local elections, in European elections. In the general election, it'll be more the same. And so, they're fine with this industry. They're fine with, uncontrolled mass immigration, which is what we have in Ireland. And it's come to knock now. And Catholics have been asleep for years, letting knock die. You need to promote it. You need to promote that shrine. You need to have a program that will, not just on the spiritual side, but on the human side, attracts people to knock. What is there in the evening? Nothing. And I've tried to organise activities. And around Ireland, many Catholics have tried to organise Catholic activities. People sometimes are not interested. And it's like you're promoting it and promoting it and promoting it. And, even youth activities, people are saying the only way we can get youth to come to some activities is if we offer it for free. Some youth activities, they offer the activities for free so young people will come. When it comes to electric picnic, the young people have no problem spending hundreds of euros on tickets. Under 18s make €250 million a year in Ireland in jobs. All my kids from when they were 16 were working, making thousands every year. The two of them, both Ellen and Laura, since they're 16. Odd jobs serving this in petrol stations, delis, whatever. I wasn't going to give them money at 16. Kids have lots of money in Ireland today. And yet when it comes to faith activities, we struggle to engage them. Why? Because families don't put the faith first. They don't. We don't. The church hasn't been putting Knock first as a place to develop. It's a brilliant shrine. It's a beautiful shrine. It's got an incredible message, but it has been left to die. It might have a lot of visitor numbers, but it doesn't have a lot of overnight numbers. Very few. Very, very few. Because there isn't the facilities there, because we don't want them. Medjugorje isn't struggling with international pilgrims. Lourdes, Fatima, even in Poland. I don't know if people have ever been to the town in Poland called Częstochowa. Lots of hotels, tons of restaurants. Częstochowa easily is 10 times bigger than Knock. It is a massive pilgrim site in Poland. But Knock has been left to die. It simply has. So, that's my thoughts. Use it or lose it. That's it. Might be controversial for me to say it, but it's the truth. So pray for Knock. And again here, I'm not trying to create this immigrant resentment, the them and us, the division and all of this. I'm just relating the fact you either love your church, love your faith, support these activities, or you will lose them. And Ireland has, apostatized the faith. We have celebrated abortion. We have voted for these politicians time and time and time again. They have decided to change Irish culture, change our language. It's like our language. We didn't use it, we lost it. The same with religion. We're not, the same with our culture. And that's what's going to happen in Knock. That will be what will happen in Knock. You either use it or lose it. So the Catholic world, if you want Knock to grow, organise pilgrimages there. Put on an evening programme in Knock, a perpetual adoration chapel in Knock, a Eucharistic miracles chapel in Knock. You don't know how annoyed I was to see this evolution walk, creation walk in Knock. I said, where is the Eucharistic miracles walk in Knock? Where is the Eucharistic museum in Knock? It's supposed to be a Eucharistic shrine. Well, it's not. It might have the title, but where's the love for the Eucharist? Where's the promotion of reverence for the Eucharist? Where are the religious communities in Knock setting up? You have so many people, so many communities now in Medjugorje and in other shrines. What's happening in Knock? Because we don't use it. We don't use it. That's simply it. And I think I reflect the voice of reality. God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.